Hello, Watermark Church. I'm excited to see you all tomorrow. And tomorrow is an exciting day because we will start a brand new series on discipleship called All In. This text in Luke chapter 5, as we start off the series, offers for us a rich possibility for reflecting on how God calls ordinary people to discipleship and missions. After all, there is nothing the slightest bit extraordinary about Simon Peter and his fishing partners. They're simple fishermen and they're simply doing what they did every day, fish. They're mending now their own business, cleaning their nets after a long, particularly discouraging night of work. When Jesus comes along, enters into their utterly normal, mundane lives and changes everything. Jesus calls Simon and his partners as they are. He is actually aware of their unworthiness, but Jesus is not put off by any of this in the slightest. He does not ask Simon to get his act together first and be prepared and then come back for an interview. Rather, he encounters him as he is and tells him not to be afraid and calls him to a new mission of catching people. Throughout the scripture, we see that human sin, failure, and inadequacies are no obstacle to God's call. God's called imperfect people to do God's work. People who are aware of their unworthiness and are often doubting and resisting to God's call. God doesn't wait for them to shape up. God calls them as they are and then works on shaping them into faithful servants. Peter's resistance to Jesus stems not from his sense of unworthiness. He initially protests, but Jesus instructs him to go out into the deep waters and let down the nets because he is convinced that the fish are not biting. They have worked all night and caught nothing. And we could hardly blame him for his skepticism. How often do we resist Jesus' claims on our lives because what he is calling us to do seems too crazy or too impractical? How often do we avoid putting out into the deep waters of following and bearing witness to Jesus because we are convinced that we will not see any results? What might mean for us to go to the deep sea fishing with Jesus, to trust and follow him outside of our comfort zones, to let go of our certainties, to have all our lives radically reoriented. For most of us, this will not mean leaving our current professions behind, although we cannot rule that out as a possibility. We are all called by virtue of our baptism to participate in God's mission to the world in Jesus Christ. We're also called daily to reorient our priorities to align with God's priorities, to use the gifts God has given us in service to others, to share the good news of Christ in word and in deed. Jesus' mission does not wait until we think we are ready. The need for the gospel in this broken world is far too urgent. We are called right now, even in spite of our frailty, failures, and doubts, even in the midst of our ordinary, busy, complicated lives. Jesus' word to Peter is also a word to us. Do not be afraid. This is Jesus' mission, and we will trust that he will keep working with us and through us, catching others as he has caught us in the deep, wide net of God's mercy and love. We trust finally that the catch is in God's hands and that God's desire is for us for the nets to be bursting and boats full of people coming to Christ. Looking forward to seeing you all tomorrow as we celebrate our risen King. May God bless you.